And I have Aarti Chawla with us, who's an expert in this field, who's going to be talking and taking us through this amazing live session. Welcome, Aarti. Can you introduce
Hello.
yourself and tell us what you do and what's the work experience that you have in relationship dynamics? Over to you.
Hi. A very good evening, everybody. My name is Aarti, and thank you so much, Mani, for calling and for inviting for this podcast. I'm really excited. So, to share about me, I'm a relationship coach and a life coach, a therapist, a hypnotherapist, and coming with the 16 years of experience in corporates. I'm a people's person, as I mentioned in my bio. Also, I love talking to people. I love meeting people. And that's what made me inclined towards counseling, therapy, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for inviting once again.
Lovely, lovely. So, Aarti, if you can share with me, what are the relationship dynamics in a couple? If you can just dive deep into it and help us understand what are the relationship dynamics in a couple?
So, see, maybe, for me, if my husband is cooking a good meal or chalo good meal, bonding activities, and we do a lot of counseling and so forth. So if at all the basic, the how do I say, the foundation of a relationship is looking for change in the person, it is not going to survive.
Wow.
And it is going to become very, very difficult because you are only and only looking for change in that person, and you're not coming from the whole acceptance. You're not operating from that acceptance
But वैसे अब
consciousness.
देखो तो 100% of Indian marriages are to change someone only.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what, and that is what is our conditioning. Because our parents were taught the same when they were young, and they were taught the same when our grandparents were young. So that is how our conditioning is. We have heard this during our childhood, and we are conditioned that marriage means change. And that's the reason the rate of marriages, the rate of people being single till the age of 40, the rate of divorce has really increased. Do you know, from 2016 till today, there has been 20% hike in divorce.
Wow.
40% of marriages are getting into a breakup, a separation, or a divorce out of 100. So every 10 couples, 4 couples are officially, going to the stage of a breakup. 2 of them are not happy, but still they are living. The rest 2 are living only for the sake of children. And maybe the balance 20% are really enjoying the partnership.
Thank you for sharing that these numbers. But I think these numbers are very positive. Rather than living in toxic relationships, people are getting out, and that's a very, very good sign for the society right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So,
But sorry, I'm interrupting you here, but sometimes it is also a reason of concern, because if that this is how the marriages are declining, the whole institute, people, the young generation, the Gen Zs, they do not believe in this institution of marriage, and this is such a pure and such a beautiful institution of marriage. But the Gen Zs these days, they are very vocal. They express. They are very, very emotionally regulated, and they are very, very emotionally aware of what is it and what's happening. And they somehow are fearful of marriage, which is sad. Which is really sad. Of course, I mean, if you've got into a bad marriage, or if you've got into a relationship which is not working, it is toxic, you must get out of it. And the reason I feel here is, Mani, because this last 10 years of our Indian societal evolution, I will say, we've taught the woman to stand up, work, study. We've taught the woman to take charge, but we've not taught the males or the men of the society to respect the woman who is independent. We've taught the woman to maybe do household work, do work and be at a CEO level, run the corporate race just like males do. But we have not taught them how to regulate their emotions, because of which, when there is a lot of pressure, home, work, and there's a lot of other emotional pressures, they give up. So that's the irony. And I think this is the last generation of ours, and the coming generation of Gen Zs will be very, very different, because they are very, very ahead in terms of evolution than our generation. They understand emotions. They are very, very emotionally aware of themselves, and they are vocal. So they, do not want to get into anything like that.
Got it.
And this is our responsibility, that we teach our men now, the generation which is coming. We teach them how to respect the woman who's independent and who's working.
Right. So,
You know,
what are the warning signs, Aarti? Like, because I don't, there is a very fine line. I don't think it's not just about men being taught, right? Even if a man is being taught,
Pavitra, because
healthy relationship dynamics.
yeah, so this is something which is linked to the other answer that I was giving, Pavitra, because when we talk about conditioning, and when we talk about we are not taught, of course, I mean, I'm not, here pinpointing, or no offense. I'm not pinpointing any woman who has a, man, and who's a mother to a man, and all of that. All I'm trying to say is, maybe they are taught, but look at the conditioning. Look at, so a person,
The
a child
society
will,
at large is so hardwired into it.
exactly.
Right? Even if we teach, it's so easy to slip back into the hardwiring and stick to that and compare it.
Exactly.
It's so deeply hardwired. I don't think, even if parents are putting in the effort, no parents teaches their kids to disrespect. In the last 10, 15 years with educated parents, it doesn't happen anymore. But still, it's so beautiful, na? Ki, acha, this is how it was. This is how our grandparents were. This is how, it's so.
So you've answered. Yes, absolutely. You've answered your own question, because it is hardwired. It is the conditioning. That's what they see in the family. That's what they see in maybe their parents, the dynamics that they have. Maybe that's what, is coming in their DNA. It's so hardwired, and it is so in their upbringing, in their conditioning. I'm not saying anything is good or bad. It's a time of transition, Pavitra. It is moving from one belief to the other belief. It is moving from one setup to the other setup. That's the only thing. And it does take time. It does take time. It's already in the process, but it will, it does take time.
So what
And
are
even if
some
you want
warning
to,
signs of unhealthy relationship dynamics?
great question. So one, it is, some people say it also depends on their own level of tolerance. But this is something which I don't believe, because no person in this world would love to tolerate hate, or would love to tolerate comparison with the other person. So there are certain things which I would like to share to our audience today, which are, deal breakers. If you feel that is criticism, again, going back to acceptance of your partner. Once you're not accepting your partner, you want to change. When you want to change, you will criticize. So that criticism, if that's there in a relationship, I feel somewhere, it loses that that whole quality of trait of understanding and love. Since we were talking about love dynamics and power dynamics in our previous chat, we lose that whole flavor, because you're criticizing, and somewhere that is going deep inside the person's head. Somewhere she or he will feel that, I am not worthy. I'm doing something wrong maybe here. So that creates a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-criticism, and eventually it becomes a cycle. So that is something which is usually seen as a deal breaker, or is a very, very, I will not say not only the red flag, but it's a maroon flag, a deep red flag. you know. So, and sometimes, you know, that criticism changes.
We just think abuse is a red flag, right? Mental, it's, forget about physical abuse, mental abuse,
Yeah,
physical abuse, emotional abuse. But what you said is like really eye-opening. You're saying
thank you.
criticism.
Absolutely.
Criticism isn't
See, what is
abuse.
abuse? Yeah, thank you for pointing this. You know, I see a lot of Instagram, reels and YouTube shorts, and, you know, people are using this word very, very loosely. Let me tell you, there are certain words which are being used very loosely. Number one, abuse. Number two, narcissism. Number three, gaslighting. You know, these narcissism is a disorder. It's a psychological disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. So you cannot label somebody narcissist or abusive. The whole last couple of minutes that we've spoken, I will not say a word abuse as big as an abuse so loosely. Why? Because abuse is something which is a very, very deep wound. Abuse is something which is so see, as we were talking about conflicts, there is a difference between personality, there's a difference between two people, and not agreeing on one particular aspect. People feel they're not agreeing to me, it's an abuse. I am being abused, I am not being if one of the partner is not listening or agreeing to what you're saying and not acting upon it, you're being abused. No, man, I mean, that's not abuse. You need to understand it is not a competition. You are not in a competition who does what and who agrees to me and who understands, and agree. You know, basically, this is what is the expectation that the other party, the other partner should do what I say. That is something which is unacceptable expectation. So yes, abuse is something which is very, very deep, I will say. Um, Yes, physical, of course, is a different thing altogether. But even emotional abuse is a repetitive pattern. If there is repetition of certain things, repetition of criticism, repetition of gaslighting, repetition of putting you down in front of others, repetition of contempting you or demeaning you, that is what is abuse. A conflict is no abuse. A conflict between two people is something that you need to work on, that you need to resolve, and people don't want to resolve because they don't want to themselves compromise. That's what is fearful for them. Because if I go to a counselor, if I take this take my husband or my wife to a counselor, somewhere I will also have to compromise, I will also have to. So okay, let me term this as abuse. I'm in an abusive relationship, I am in a narcissistic my husband is narcissistic. This is very, very loose, I'm telling you. Yeah. Yes. Criticism is something that I mentioned is something that is a red flag.
Wow, that's really, really powerful, Aarti. Thank you so much. So, to draw a line between criticism, abuse, narcissism, it's very important not to use those terms loosely in the context of relationships specifically, right? And also, other than criticism, which is very, very powerfully affecting a other individual, and they get, they become like, imagine a flower being getting bad words continuously. They just shrink like that.
Yes.
Other than that, what are the other red flags?
Yes. So,
Warning
second thing,
signs,
which
rather.
is, yes, warning signs, red flags. A very, very important thing that we need to understand is when there is a lot of, element of vengeance or keeping the score, or you understand that kind of a thing where you are keeping a score and you want to let the other person down, or you want to, again, that leads to criticism, but somewhere you have this in your personality where you are keeping a score. So if you see your partner keeping a score and telling, last time you remember you did this, now I am saying this, do this. So that is something, which usually I see when couples come and when they talk about, their conflicts and their issues. This is one of the major things, that one of the partner is keeping a score and, keeping a. So whenever there is 1+1 individual I and not we. Okay, let me here share a very, very important concept. So, we believe that for a relationship, there is this one person, which is 100% of maybe a feminine energy, who's a female. There's another person who's 100% of masculine energy. When they both get 100% of their energies, there is another bubble which is formed. Energetically, there's another entity which is formed in between them, which is 100%. Come, and when they talk about their conflicts and their issues, this is one of the major things, that one of the partner is keeping a score, and keeping a, so whenever there is 1+1 individual I and not we. Okay, let me here share a very, very important concept. So we believe that for a relationship, there is this one person which is 100% of maybe a feminine energy, who's a female. There's another person who's 100% of masculine energy. When they both get 100% of their energies, there is another bubble which is formed. Energetically, there's another entity which is formed in between them. And that is their entity of relationship. Okay, now you are not a single entity, he or she is not a single entity. When you both come together and create something called a relationship or create something called a marriage, that is a different entity altogether. And there you cannot be I did this, I want this, or I am this. You cannot have, because that's a couple identity. When you have an identity of we, that is what is this relationship's identity. So it also impacts how we communicate. If you're only communicating about, I need this, I want this, I need this, I am interested in going out, I want to go out, I want to party, I want to do this. It's all about me. Where is this relationship entity? This whole new entity that has been born. Right? So that is something which really breaks most of the relationship, it breaks, because we are not talking about this new entity which has been born. We are talking about our individual interests. We are talking about our individual scores. Okay, I've got this score and he's got this score. Last time we went for a boys' day, a night out. I will now go for a girls' night out. So that keeping that score in different individuals and not taking care of this new entity which has been born is a deal breaker. A very, very big maroon flag.
Great. And what about one is criticism, other is keeping score? Anything else that you can talk about, which could be a deal breaker?
Yeah. Sure. Thank you. So the third one I would like to share here will be, how do I say, harsh words or blunt communication. Okay, so sometimes what happens is we feel ke chalo ye to partner hai, isko to kaise bhi baat kar lo, you take the other person for granted. And we were talking about love languages earlier. So maybe you are taking a chill pill and you are just in your own zone of casual zone, but the other person's language is word of appreciation. The other person's language is certain good quality communication with you, but we are taking it for granted. Yeah. So when there are harsh words in a relationship, whether it is marriage or it is just a relationship, it said word spoken is like an arrow which has gone out of your mouth and it is never going to come back. Yeah. And I remember my mother telling me this, when I was very young, and I never used to understand that. I was like, yeah, theek hai, to dost hote hain, casually, hi, hello, tu, tadak, all of that. So I'm not saying that, so that is okay. I mean, that is friendship. Of course, we should have that friendship, that level of friendship. But sometimes we are not sensitive to what we are saying. So even if there is something that we don't agree to, even if there is something that the other person is not doing right. So, what it is said, suppose there are two people in a communication and there is a third person and you are having maybe a altercation or a fight with the third person for something that has happened in a social setup. Okay. And one of your partner is fighting or having a quarrel with the third person on one of the things, whatever is the situation. Imagine a situation that your partner is in a quarrel with a third person. So now here the question comes, what should I do as a partner? I know my partner is wrong and the third person is saying right. what should I do? You know, if I say, no, you are wrong, don't, shout, don't do this, don't do that, in front of the third person, I am demeaning her. If I am talking to the third person and saying, no, you are wrong, and, this is not how the way things are, I am demeaning the partner. Yeah. So both ways, here I'm demeaning the third person, here I'm demeaning the partner. Whose side should I take? What should I do? So a word, when the partner is aggressive or in that stage of aggression, a word said by the partner, the second partner, so here imagine the woman is having an altercation and the male is there and he's like, what should I do? A word that comes out of from a male's mouth at that time will have 100% more impact on the woman as in a normal situation. If you say, okay, leave it, this is not this way, this is the other way, you are wrong, it's gonna spoil everything. Okay. So again, step into the relationship bubble. Here, both the partners will have, one partner is aggressive and they are not in their senses, or they are very, in this thing. The male or the second partner has to step into the relationship bubble and speak as one. Me and my partner are right, even if you are wrong. Even if your partner or your wife is completely wrong, become one for some time, at least for 10-15 minutes. Fight out. And then later on, you can tell your partner, no, this is how it was, or this is how it was. You were wrong, or you were right, or here is where you need to change, or here is where you need to change your perspective. So coming in that relationship bubble and whatever you are speaking impacts a lot. So this is what I mean to say when I give you the third, deal breaker. What the person says, what the person, how they support you, how they show their affection to you in a critical situation.
Beautiful. And with that, we come to the last question for the session, Aarti. How can couples support each other during challenging times? Yes, during normal times, all of us are like, this is good, that is good, it's working. How do couples support each other during challenging times?
Beautiful. So challenging times sometimes come every day. So yeah, it is very important for couples to remember what is the reason at the first place they came together. As we evolve in a relationship, as the days pass, as the years pass, we forget, why did we get into this person? Why did we get into this relationship? Why did I choose this person at the first place? Yeah. So it is important to always remember whenever you think of, this person is not as per my expectation, or there are challenges, you're not able to come on common grounds and so on and so forth. Remember, why did you come into this situation at the first place, and then stick to it. Commitment, I think, plays a very, very important role. And as we were talking about Gen Zs and as we were talking about the newer generation, I think a very, very important aspect is that we are losing that whole, the whole tightness of a bond or a relationship or a commitment. So in challenging times, it is very, very important that we understand and we go back to why we chose them, why we came into this relationship at the first place, and what can we do now? There is no point thinking about the past as while keeping the scores and, thinking about and arguing and all of that. The only thing that you need to understand and think of right now is, what can I do now? What is the right decision to be taken now? How can I resolve this conflict? How can I maybe take professional help for this issue? How can I not involve the third person and understand their perspective, if that is a challenging situation we are talking about? Because everyone will have a different perspective and no two people are duplicates of each other.
Wow, such a powerful thing that you shared over here right now. So during challenging times, not looking at what went wrong, how can